Who are we talking to next?
All right, let's talk to Mark.
Mark
in North Carolina. We tried to talk to you earlier. You are a helpful litmus test. Can you hear us now?
I can certainly hear you. How are you guys?
We are doing good now that everyone can hear everybody else. What can we help you with today?
Well, actually, my call and my question was actually what you guys were just talking about.
Perfect segue. Beautiful.
It
Nice,
is.
V.
It's great.
That's some good hosting. I love that. That was clean.
Yep. So, well, my question is kind of the flip side.
Okay.
I was actually in a kind of an online Bible study group a few months back. Just trying to learn, trying to learn and understand and everything how people thought and how people talked and reacted. But just like you were talking about, they kept going on and on about pretty much what makes a true Christian and what doesn't. They were talking about hypocrisy in the church and all that good stuff.
Just so we can zero in, when somebody says they're a true Christian, can we just define that a little bit so that people kind of have a context around it? So if somebody's saying, "Oh, they're not a true Christian," what are they usually referring to?
The people who say that if somebody else is not a true Christian, what they're generally referring to is that they're not acting and believing the same things that I do.
Mm-hmm. Maybe like a doctrinal difference. You were talking about dispensationalism, legalism. This is a lot of Christianese for a lot of people who, if you want all the rabbit holes, all the rabbit trails, you can go down annihilationism, and then even splitting off even more. Mormons call themselves Christians. J-Dubs call themselves Christians. And when they say, well, they're not true Christians because they're not my brand. And
exactly.
Unfortunately, that's not how labels work. You can't keep those labels like that. It bites.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's where you get no true Scotsman.
So my thought process is that I tried to flip this. Mm-hmm. Is that, okay, is there such a thing as a true atheist? Because during this little Bible study, they said, well, I've talked to atheists before, and I've convinced them of other things, and they weren't atheists anymore, right? And you hear these stories online all the time.
Uh-huh.
I know that people are atheists, and they're a broad spectrum of what they believe and what they don't believe. But there's also, through my own experience, I've realized that there's people who are atheists for good reasons, bad reasons, and really bad reasons, right?
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, absolutely.
15, 20 years ago, I considered myself an atheist, but I didn't really understand, the reasoning, and logic behind why I considered myself atheist,
Right.
It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I really began to learn and read and to explore, everything on the why of that. So is there such a thing as a real or true atheist, or is this kind of reasoning just as fallacious as when Christians use it?
Well, here's the fun part. I would say that you can be a real atheist or a not real atheist much more easily than you can or cannot be a real Christian, because the definition of an atheist is someone who does not believe in a god or gods. So if you are that, then you are a real atheist. It is a single definition, and if you meet that single criteria, then you are an atheist. If you believe in a god or gods, you are not an atheist. If you have lapsed and don't feel connected to God but think God is still around, you're not an atheist. If you are mad at God for doing something mean to you at some point and so you don't believe in him anymore, you're not an atheist, right? And a lot of Christians tend to use those two interchangeably and say, well, I was an atheist. And what they mean is I didn't love God at one point. But yes, you can absolutely be or not be an atheist. The interesting thing, and this is why we kind of went with this direction for the show, is whether or not you can use that for Skeptic. Because I think that is a much larger conversation that has a lot more to do with that nuance that Christianity brings to the table of, oh, well, there's more to it than just an answer to a single question. It is a worldview. It is a practice.
And before we get flooded with messages, I kind of want to...
Oh, did I say something controversial?
You did. There are a lot of people who are prescriptivist about their definition of those words.
Oh, they can come the fuck at me. The fuck at me.
At Author of Confusion.
At Author Confusion.
On Twitter. And just remember that when you email... what was it? Contact
skepticgeneration@gmail.com.
Make sure that in the title you say this is for V. And have fun with that. Mark, thank you for calling in.
It was great talking to you again, Eric. And hey, you guys are keep doing what you're doing. I love all your work.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in.
All right.